Hi students, this is lecture number 2, and in this lecture we will discuss that how do we calculate the net profit. So this is what we have discussed in lecture number 1. So you just understand that this is the core area in the statement of profit or loss, and from this core area the main variables are net sales, then we have cost of sales and gross profit. So you need to understand how to calculate the net sales. It can be asked in the examination. You can be asked how to calculate the cost of sale, and you can be asked that how do we calculate the gross profit. So once we are done with the gross profit, we know that we need to subtract some expenses. Like first of all, we have selling expenses, selling and distribution expenses, distribution expenses. Then we subtract the administrative expenses, and then we subtract, okay, before that, before the calculation of finance cost, we arrive at profit before interest and tax, and then we subtract interest cost, and then finally we arrive at profit before tax, and finally we subtract the amount of tax, and we will arrive at profit after tax. So in examination, you can be given all those expenses, like you can be given the selling and distribution expense. Let's suppose it is 4,000. You can be provided with the with other expenses like administrative expenses. It is, let's suppose, 2,000. So what you will do, sorry, okay, I don't know why it is not working. So you will use these two figures, and you will take the sum, which is 6,000, and you will arrive at profit before interest and tax. And how do we do that? We subtract we subtract these expenses from the gross profit. Yes, so you will take the value of gross profit and then you subtract the expenses. You will arrive at profit before interest and tax. And finally we have interest cost. Let's suppose it is 6,000. So you will get the profit before tax. You will subtract interest from the profit before interest and tax, and finally the amount of tax can be provided to you, and you subtract this amount from, you subtract tax from profit before tax, then you will arrive at net profit. So students, that is how we prepare the statement of profit or loss. And you can be given any scenario in the examination and you need to calculate any variable. I mean, if you are given gross sales and sales return and you are asked to calculate the net sales, you will follow this portion. You simply subtract the net sales from the gross sales to arrive at net sales. Okay. The second portion, you can also be given opening inventory, purchases, closing inventory, and carriage inward, and you can be asked to calculate the cost of sale. Then you will follow this sequence. And if you are provided with the expenses and you are asked to calculate the net profit, then you will follow this sequence. So remember this portion, these particular areas of statement of profit or loss. Okay. So I think everything is clear in this context. Okay. So let's suppose there is a question. I will ask you a question that question 1. I'm just giving you an example. Let's suppose there is a business, sorry, there is a business that provides you the interest cost $4,000 and also mentions the gross profit as $60,000. The business also provides you with the selling and distribution expenses $16,000, and finally the business provides you with the administrative expenses $14,000. The requirement is to calculate the profit before interest and tax. So here you can see the requirement. The requirement is to find out the profit before interest and tax. So in this question, there are 3 variables. Okay, I will just delete all the values just to make you guys understand. Okay, now my question is that which area you will consider for the calculation of this question? I mean, do you consider this area, gross profit, less sales return, net sales? No, because in this question, there is no sales given, there is no sales return is provided to you. Okay, second, do you use this area, which is the calculation of cost of sale? No, obviously not. Why? Because you are not provided with the opening inventory, you are not provided with the carriage inward closing inventory. So neither you are asked to calculate the cost of sale. So you will start your question from this portion, which is called gross profit, which is given in the question. So your gross profit is 60,000. Then you have selling and distribution, which is 16,000. Administrative expenses, which are 14,000. So you will add them up and the total is 30,000. So once you subtract these expenses from the gross profit, you will arrive at profit before interest and tax, which is 30,000. Now my question is, do we need to subtract the interest cost? No, we will not subtract interest cost. Why? Because the question has been finished at the calculation of profit before interest and tax. So that is why interest cost in this question is irrelevant. So students, you must be very vigilant and you must be understanding that which area is required and how do you approach, how do you reach to that particular point. Okay, so I think this question is extremely clear to you guys. Now let's suppose I will give you another scenario. Question number 2. So this question will cover all that stuff. So let's suppose the business provides you with the following figures: gross sales, let's say 90,000. Then you will subtract, then the sales returns are given, let's suppose 9,000. Then you have opening inventories, let's suppose 4,000. Then you have purchases, let's say 60,000. Then you have carriage outward, let's suppose 6,000. Then you have closing inventories, let's suppose 16,000. Then carriage inward, let's suppose 2,500. And administrative expenses, let's suppose 6,000. And then interest cost 4,000. And the requirement is to find out the profit before tax. So in this scenario, you are required to find this profit before tax. Okay, now I will explain you how do you start this question. So first of all, you will consider the amount of gross sales, which are 90,000. Then you will subtract the sales return 9,000. So you will arrive at net sales and it will be 81,000. How do you do that? You will subtract the sales return from the amount of sales. Then you will use your opening inventory, which is given in the question. It is 4,000. Then you will add up your purchases amount, which is 60,000. Then you will add carriage inward. So you will use this carriage inward because we add carriage inward into purchases. And finally, we are provided with the closing inventory, which is 16,000. So how do we calculate the cost of sale? It is simple: opening inventory plus purchases plus carriage inward and minus closing inventory. So this is our cost of sale. And finally, once we subtract our cost of sale from the sales, we arrive at gross profit. That is simple. The carriage outward is the part of the distribution expenses. So you will consider it under the head of selling and distribution expense. You will also subtract your administrative cost. So you add them up. You will have the sum of the expenses 12,000. Then you subtract these expenses from the gross profit. You will arrive at profit before interest and tax. And finally, you subtract your interest cost, which is 4,000. Then you will get your final answer, which is 14,500. So all these scenarios are extremely important. Do practice by your own self. I would advise you to change these value by your own self. Consider multiple scenarios by your own self and try to solve them up. So if you find any confusion, do consult with me. You have got my email address. It is purebusinesseducation@gmail.com. purebusinesseducation@gmail.com. So you will use this email address and do consult if you have any problem. This is what we are discussing at the initial level of accounting or financial accounting. And these scenarios are extremely important as far as your examinations are concerned. So thank you very much. Wait for the next video.